Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Dave, this is Quarterbash, and you know what? I got a message after that last video I put up. Last video was copper count. It was about pennies that I was counting into the copper count that Zim sent in. And he got in touch with me, said he wanted to clarify a couple of things. He had sent these books, and I'd said, I didn't want to take the pennies out of them. I'm just going to leave them bound together. He said, no, take the pennies out. Go ahead. They were part of a collection that I had since I was younger, and if there was anything in there that would work for you to go ahead and put into your copper count, you go ahead and do it. I'm definitely paraphrasing. That's not exactly what he said. It's a comment on the video, so you can go check it out if you wanted to. But I am going to go through the pennies in these books, like he said, see if there's anything special, see if there's any varieties or errors. And I'm also going to take a look at the pennies that I already looked at from him and see if I missed anything. If there was anything else that I could pull out of there. I didn't check for like small date 82s or anything like that. I didn't even pull any of the S pennies out, which I've been trying to do. So we're going to do all that right now. Okay, before we do anything else, let's take a look at where we left it. This is exactly where I left it. These were the pennies from Zim that were 82 or newer, 82 zinc or newer. These were the pennies that were going into my copper count because they were 58, 59, up to 82 copper. And these are the wheat pennies, and these are the books. And these books have pennies that are going to go into, I believe, each one of these piles, depending on what the book is. So here's what I found out. Over here, these are S pennies, minted in San Francisco. Out of all of these are the ones that are S, mint mark. I am going to keep those aside in a different part of the copper count. They'll have their own Ziploc bag, basically, because there were a lot less of these made than the others. And I don't know if I'm going to end up selling these things individually or what I'm going to do, but maybe someday that'll matter. When I look online at the values, the S pennies have a higher value than the others for the most part. I did take a look, got in there, took a look. No small date 82s, no known errors in these pennies. So I didn't find any errors or varieties in these, but we'll see what's in the book. So let's get to that. Hey, I don't know how well the top of my head's showing in this shot, but I want to make sure to get all this in here. So if it cuts off, I apologize, but let's get to the meat of the thing. Let's get into Zim's books and actually see what we've got. I'm going to move these newer pennies out of the way. Okay. Put it in some order here. Okay. So we're going to start with collection 1909 to 1940. There's not a single penny in that book. I showed this one before, talked about how I might use it to start my own collection. So that is true. Let's move on. 1909 to 1940. I think this one has some pennies in it. It does. 1912. Get the vibe that penny's been cleaned. It's very shiny. Give me a minute. Let me think about this one. I'm not taking the pennies out of this one. I'm not. They're older. There's only a handful of them, and I'm gonna leave them. I'm gonna leave these where they are for now. They wouldn't go into the copper count anyway, so that book I'd like to leave. Maybe I'll complete this book along with that one. But we can go ahead, starting in 1941, open this one up and see what we've got. $1945D, wheat penny. 1941, just 1941, that penny is trashed. 64D, this will be a copper count one. 66 and 68D. This 59 will be copper count also. Okay, so here is what I'm going to do. The book is empty. I'm going to step out for a minute. I'm going to check and see if any of these are rares or errors, and we'll come back and we'll do the next book. So, out of that batch, these are all nice. They're wheat pennies, but there's nothing terribly special about them, except for this one. It's a 1952 S. It's a nice penny. It's not an error, but it seems to have a little more value than other pennies around in there. So I just kept it aside. I'm going to keep all the S pennies aside with these too. So that was nice. Cleaned up a little bit here. Let's continue. 1941 and 1974. So I'm going to pull all of these out. I'm going to do it in two waves. I'll get all the wheat pennies, and then I'll get all the Lincoln Memorials. Let's start with the wheat pennies. These are all the wheat pennies. I'm going to jump in really quick, check these for errors or varieties, and then we'll come back. Nothing in terms of errors or varieties here. We've got another 9 S pennies, all pretty much in the 50s. So we'll add those here. And these are wheat pennies of varying quality from the 40s and 50s, but none of the big, errors that you might look for, but that's totally cool. These are nice pennies. These are nice pennies. And let's get on to the, I think the rest of it's all going to be copper count type stuff. The rest of this book goes 1959 up to 1974. I'm going to pull all these out, give it another look for any of the errors or things that we would look for, and separate them out and add these to the copper count. So, 2 more S pennies in there. I checked, there was only one that could have had a variety. There was a 1960 D over Shadow D, but I looked that up. Nope, didn't have it. So we're looking at, as of right now, it's 25 more copper pennies going into the copper count. And these wheats right here, but there's more. There's one more book. This is 1975 on. Oh, so in the unmarked section of this book, there's a number of older wheat pennies also. So you know what? I'm going to pull those out first and get that completely done. And I'm going to remove some of these over here are post copper. These are the zinc ones. So I'm going to go through and do some quick work on this. And here we go. 2 more wheat pennies, S pennies, bringing that to a total of 12. 26 more wheat pennies, P's or D's, bringing that to a total of 52. 3 1982 coppers. 1 is small date. So there was, in this entire thing, 1 small date 1982. So Zim, one little bit of a variety here, man. That's awesome. 2 of your standard large date, they go into the copper count. So here is the adjustment on Zim's addition to the copper count. The copper count prior to this, at the end of the last video with Zim's coins, was 1,310. 1310. Adding these coins into it, this is another 38. So that's going to be 1,348. 1,348 is the new copper count. Okay. And one of them being a small date 82, which is awesome. And these are going to go into their own section. Wheat pennies right here. Zim wheats. And I'm going to get another bag for the S's. All right. Thank you, Zim, for sending these in. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you next time.